Here, let me give the overview of what Paizo's doing. They did it in their blog post, but I'll give you the little bit higher level overview. The price is almost all, I think it's all for only print products right now.
Yes, only print went up except for organized play, previously had been a very depressed price compared to all the other PDFs for their length.
We have flip maps are going up to $20, which is an increase by $3. We have flip map multi-packs, which are going up to $30, which is a $5 increase. You have the adventure paths, which are 96 pages, soft cover. Those are going up to $30. I remember when they were 17. And
that was a long time ago.
I know, but still, that's $3.
It's only going up $3 on the adventure paths.
10%. Then pocket editions are going from 27 to $35, but the big ones are the hardcover. And what they were doing beforehand is they were doing it kind of not by page count, but believe it or not, by the line, because the Lost Omen lines were slightly different prices than the core lines. So
it was the line, and then with weird changes if it was if it was a different length than usual for that line.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a little weird. Now
it wasn't standardized.
It wasn't standardized. So we tried to go back and look at the pricing, but here's the deal: a 128 page book is $45. 192 page.
It was $40 just before this, and it started at 35.
It was 35, then 40. Now it's 45. 192
it was 40 for the last few
192 years. Page book, which really is, not that big. That's a $60 book now. That's $60. Now, these books weren't even above $60 until, WoTC, they were the ones that drew the line and said, okay, we're going from 50s to 60. And that was for, pretty much all their books. And now,
these are for print products.
I know, but still,
it's increasing.
That's a lot.
In my how much has it cost? Has the cost increased to
I'll explain. I'll get into that because I know.
Yeah, everybody's raised prices.
But a 256 page book is $70, and the real wow to me is a 304 page book with a map is $80. Let me tell you something.
I don't think that's that outrageous.
The Jewel of the Indigo Isle, 430 pages.
Well, I think the point is right.
We know that you made the Jewel of the Indigo Isles low.
I know, but I want to. I actually.
But I think the bigger question is right. Obviously, there's market forces at play here, and I'm sure Stephen will go into them. I think the real question is right. You're asking your consumer base to absorb these cost increases. Now, that cost increase could be completely "quote unquote" warranted because of cost in your production, or cost of your labor, cost of your shipping, cost of your printing. But the other thing is, it could be that people are trying to take more profit. But regardless of whatever your reason is, you're asking your customer base to absorb more of the cost. Mm-hmm. However, are people in a position to do that? And we know that wages have been fairly flat. Inflation is a thing, it's arguably stagflation. And I think the problem that Paizo has, as opposed to maybe the Wizards of the Coast, is in theory, obviously Lost Omens has a lot of content that is not available on something like the Archives of Nethys. But this is a game that basically says, hey, look, all of our stuff's for free, or you can go get these PDFs, which are much lower priced, or you can get the Foundry module. It'll be automatically updated and you don't have to pay anything for it. And it's like, does this price people out of physical product? And is that what they're trying to do? I mean, that seems kind of backwards, right? But
no,
granted, I've always argued that these books are way too damn cheap anyway.
They are. And I have argued that before this, and I'll argue it again. Not that they're too cheap for you who's watching this to buy. I know that it could still be hard to buy sometimes.
Absolutely.
But for the amount of cost of the art, the cost and effort of the writing, which is much more difficult than certain other books that are written because you need technical writing skills and technical editing and development, the cost of printing and the cost of shipping, the amount that it has gone up compared to inflation before these last few years when everything got wild and they've raised it a bunch of times, is that actually some of those early products for D&D where it costs more, even when you're not taking into account inflation, which is totally wild to me. I've discussed this before on this show, so I'm not going to get into it lengthily again. But the main point is just that the print products have a lot of issues with, and even the PDFs, there is at least an upfront cost for that art and for that writing. But with the print products, there's a lot of other additional issues that keep getting more and more expensive.
So I'm going to defend Paizo because I know what these things cost, because I just got quotes back from my printer today, and I couldn't believe how high they were. And I've been printing.
How much had it raised since Battlezoo Bestiary Strange and Unusual to World of Battlezoo Indigo Owls, which was only, what, like 2 months later? How much did it go up?
Well, overall, between now and the last 2 years, it's gone up about 30 to 40%.
40%?
Yeah.
Holy moly.
Which is a lot. And the reasons
That's a lot.
Yeah, I know, that's a lot. I mean, paper has gotten extremely expensive. There's two reasons. One, paper's gotten very expensive, and shipping containers. So here's what happened. And if everyone remembers, during COVID, there was a crisis. A shipping container is those big containers you see, you know, that hold, they're like 40 feet by, what are they, like 10 by 10 by 40 or something? And you just put as much as you can. A shipping container used to cost about $1,500 to $2,000 per container. During the COVID crisis, because they weren't shipping them back, I won't get into it, they went up to $20,000 per container, and it was a real problem. Well, there's no more container shortage. So what did the price go down to? $6,000. Why is it $6,000? It shouldn't be $2,000 or $1,000 or $1,500. Well, I'll tell you why. Because there's only 3 companies in the world that own all those containers, and if they decide to put a bottom on it, because it actually goes into an auction system. This is all automated. There's an auction system in the back end where you auction and get the containers. So it's whatever the market will bear, but there are artificial factors. And the thing is, it's not going down. So suddenly containers that cost $1,000, $2,000 are now $6,000. And I'll tell you, some of the really big box stores like Walmart and Target, they have their own ship now. They bought their own ships and their own containers. They don't even use. And I'll tell you why, because I was talking to my warehouse. They sometimes book passage on those ships. They actually get, I'm like, I sometimes get on the Target ship, get my stuff over here.
That's pretty sweet.
It's gotten so expensive that these companies bought their own ships. They don't even use other people.
Right. And so to your point, the shipping costs, at least for the container, may have tripled, but it's not like everybody's wages tripled, you know. Right. It's not like if you were making, you know, $40,000-$50,000 a year, you're suddenly making $150,000 a year, you know.
Although some wages have gone up. Specifically, we know from, if you look at the openings posted at Paizo job openings recently after the union compared to the openings that were posted before the union in the public postings, those Paizo is now paying more, which is good.
Yes.
For their staff. It is closer to what someone with that amount of technical skill should be earning. And that is another cost, though, from the perspective of the company.
Absolutely. Paizo has to make that up somehow. And right. I mean, and, you know, I mean, yes, they could arguably cut into their margins, but I'm assuming that their margins aren't so big and thick and fat that they have a lot of room for that. And
as far as I can tell, they aren't. Just based on my knowledge of which is always sketchy because people didn't say exactly what, but based on like the general idea, when like someone moved to Wizards of the Coast and they got their new wizard salary, and then an executive at Paizo be like, that's more than me, or something like that. And some other statements that people were making, I don't get the idea that that Paizo is like squirreling away tons of hidden money that they're just giving only to the top. I really do think that they are.
No, look,
they're working hard to make books and have a profitable company, and also that's what they're getting at.
Look, books cost more. Paper costs more, printing costs more, shipping costs more. Everything's going up. It's not going to go back down.
Right, but and that's all fine. But remember, these are not, I should say, these are discretionary goods. These are discretionary purchases that people are making. This isn't like your gas bill or your grocery bill, you know, or your daycare bill, right? These are these are optional purchases. And as everyone loves to point out, you know, most of us have a veritable library of books, whether digital or physical. And you know, if push comes to shove, it's like, you know, will this affect people's buying habits? And I already saw people in my own community here at Night's Last Call that were basically saying like, you know, like I might not buy the physical remasters, you know, and this is before they announced the price increase. And so like, you know, going forward, meaning like after the remaster, not necessarily the core, but like, you know, future Lost Omens or future, like I might just get the pocket edition or I might just get the PDF. I'm mostly playing on Foundry these days. My books are almost eye candy at a certain point.
Well, remember I said just as little as last week that books were going to become collector's items, physical books. And
I mean, at $100 basically for a hardback, it kind of feels like a collector's edition,
correct.
Right? I mean,
think about let's talk about how this transitions into the big topic as well, because we're talking about books being collector's edition. We're talking about the way that this is going to impact game stores. But what about Magic the Gathering, which is also printing thing out? It has some of these same shipping and printing costs and is something that is the lifeblood of game stores. Like pretty much every game store, or most game stores that I know, that I've actually talked to someone about it. Right. Like their Magic is their life.
Most game stores are Magic the Gathering stores, and everything else is just window dressing.